हाय सिद्धार्थ, हाउ आर यू? आपसे पहला सवाल मैं पूछना चाहूँगा आपकी जर्नी के बारे में। कहाँ से आपकी शुरुआत हुई, कहाँ से आप आए हैं और शुरुआत से मतलब कैसे इंटरेस्ट आया आपको सिनेमेटोग्राफी में?
Actually, शुरू में like in the beginning, I used to always think that I want to become a director, and mostly that was because I wasn't really aware of. I knew that there are films and they are made by people, but I wasn't aware of who does what. So I thought that the things that I'm interested in are done by a director. Then once I left school and I joined a mass comm institute. So there I got exposed to how things work. I remember that college first day, you know, there's an introduction which happens, and they ask everyone who wants to become what, and so they said who wants to become a director, and I think one, and there's another person. We were the only two people who raised their hands. And after 2 days, I knew that I don't want to become a director. I want to become a DOP. Because I didn't, then there I, started interacting with people, and I got to know more in detail that whose job is to do what. And I started realizing that all the things which are exciting me, that visually you are telling a story, there is a certain kind of mood that you're building with your composition, with the lensing, with your lighting, camera movements, and that was the things which were always exciting for me, that you are telling stories with that. I thought that even if you, there are a lot of times I would watch films without sound. And that's when you see, I understood that a lot of great films are best when it's visually told. When you don't need anything, you just see visuals, you see that one shot, and you know that you feel it, you know what they're trying to say.
So is there any film that you feel inspired from, or that defining moment that I was talking about, कि picture देखी और लगा कि यार मेरे को ये करना है?
There were many films actually. There was not like a, it was not like a day when I watched a film and I suddenly thought, wow man, like I want to be a cinematographer. There were many films, and but I remember that films which photographically I thought that wow, there's something special about this. Was I think initially it was something like was Citizen Kane, or in that time I remember I just got introduced to world cinema. Before that I used to watch a lot of foreign films, but as a kid I was a film buff. So I remember that every Thursday or something there's a local video library where these VHS would come, and he knew that I was a kid, like I was like 4th standard or something, 5th standard, and he knew that these new cassettes have to go to my house, and I'll watch them not knowing what these films are, where are they coming from. I had no idea. There's no access to, there's no IMDb or there's no information flowing in. So जो film आता था, I remember like even वो बच्चों at that time the films like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Wizard of Oz and Born Free, those kind of films, American, European, whatever. I had no idea what are they, where are they coming from. I would just want to watch a film every Thursday, and I would just get those 4-5 VHS and I'll watch them back to back. So I just knew that I'm interested in this, but I wasn't like ऐसा नहीं था कि like from 4th standard I knew yes I want to become a filmmaker, but I had that thing inside me which came out pretty later. It's only once I started taking pictures and all I thought that I can do this, and I can express myself with this medium. And yeah, so formally I got introduced to world cinema a little later, and I saw films like In the Mood for Love, and I was totally blown away. I was like, this is something really different. And then you get introduced to things like Tarkovsky, and you see all the Satyajit Ray films, and then your vocabulary in film starts increasing, and you start looking at it more intricately, more with more attention to detail. But yeah, I mean, it was not like I saw that one film, and it was a journey. It's like I started finding films, and I started finding my way of looking at them and understanding them. So that's how I.
When did you decided that you want to go to SRFTI?
As soon as I got to know that there are these film institutes, which was, I think, the moment I got into the mass comm, my graduation. There, I got to know from my faculty that there is this institute called FTI, there is SRFTI, and there are a couple of more institutes which are around the country. So my first inclination was to go to there's one institute called AFI, American Film Institute, and there is this one called UK, which is in Poland.
Okay.
It's spelled like Lodz, LOD. But then they were very expensive, and I couldn't afford it. And but then I also did a research, and I thought that and I found out that going to a government institute in our country is way better than anywhere in the world. It's like the kind of resources you get, the kind of access you get to material and to books and films is phenomenal. Like, you won't get it. You won't get that kind of access. I mean, of course, there are certain advantages you get somewhere else, and certain advantages which are here. But I found that this is like the place for me. I can afford it, because I couldn't afford a camera. I came from I'm from a Punjabi family. I grew up in Delhi. My entire family, all of them are into business. There's no one remotely related to films or any kind of art related field.
So was there a family pressure on you?
Not really, but of course, like if I tell them that I want to buy a SLR, which will cost them 15 grands, was impossible. Like, I couldn't tell them that मुझे 15,000 रुपए चाहिए because मुझे camera खरीदना. They were like, camera, why do you want to spend on that? So I did. I think even till now, I've always borrowed. I could never afford it. Now probably I'll buy a camera, but for a long time I couldn't afford a camera. So I've always found these friends who are into photography and into films, and they have always lent me cameras. So I did my photo. So once I started doing photography, then I kind of thought that this is it. When I did my first, I remember with a friend of mine, I went to Chandni Chowk, and I did some stills, and I remember that there was a lab in Delhi where I went with the roll, and I didn't even know how to communicate, what to tell them. I didn't know the terminologies and all ki isko process karna hai, iska contact sheet चाहिए. This is what I learned by visiting those places. So it was very weird, but to go there and tell them what I want. But I remember that day when I saw that first contact sheet of the first role I did, and it was really like, I loved that feeling of that, you created something. This is what I created. And it says something, it makes you feel something. Then I got stuck onto it. I was like, this is it, this is what I want to do.
So you started making short films after that, or?
Lot of them. Because it was a mass comm institute, so it was also part of the curriculum. So, but in Delhi at that time, there was a very interesting, I'm sure it's still there, but I am a little cut off, but there was a very interesting wave of, people trying to make short films, experimental films, and there was also a very well set, set of filmmakers who were doing a lot of documentaries and doing a lot of wildlife films. So I actually professionally started my career as a wildlife cinematographer. I joined this production house, which was a more of a rental house. They had a lot of equipment, and this was the time when the first HD camera had come in the country. It was Cinevolta. I remember
Sony Cinevolta.
HDW 900. That was the first camera which had come, and the production house I used to work with, they bought it, and nobody knew what to do with it. Because we had a camera which shoots HD, but we don't have monitors, we don't have recorders. So, but we had all this equipment, and we were experimenting with it, and also on the side, our main owner used to also shoot a lot of wildlife, you know, in jungles and all, which he would sell as stock footage. So he would, I was this new into kid, 17, 18 years old, who he'll send to jungles and, you know, go and shoot. So I lived in Corbett for 4 months, was shooting there. I went to a lot of places.
So you went to a lot of jungles and...
I started my career as a wildlife cinematographer. So in that period I travelled a lot. I went to a lot of jungles and you know, I would be shooting all kinds of stuff because I, you know, a lot of times they'll need someone to shoot, and I'm the only guy available, and I'm very enthused and I want to do it, so they'll send. So I had even shot like some plastic surgeries happening, some operation happening, some new scheme which has come out, so the government wants a little video of that. So I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was not questioning what I'm doing. I was just very excited to know, you know, what I know, and you know, I was very much into it. I was studying a lot, and this is the time when this first generation, you know, the DVX 100 and VX 1000 and PD 150, all these cameras had come. So it was also a new time, and you know, suddenly these new cameras had come, and the U-matic and all. I started working at that time. The U-matic and all were almost like obsolete. So it was all about now betas and digibetas, and DV had just come in. So it was a very exciting time for me to explore, and we were not even thinking of anything else. Like, you know, whatever comes my way, I'll do it. I just want to learn. So
that was your learning ground.
That was my learning ground, and in between that, I worked in one Italian film where suddenly this call came to my production that they're looking for a complete fresher. They need a production assistant. And it's an Italian film, it's a very big budget film, and they're shooting in Rajasthan and these things. So I was like, okay, I'll just try it, you know, just to understand how things work in a big feature. So there I got like totally, I was like, wow, this is like a different world, you know. There is like 500 people who are trying to make a film. Like, I didn't know that, because in Delhi when I was doing these documentaries and all, we were maximum a crew of 3 people, 4 people, and we would just go in the jungles and, you know, just shoot. We are on our own. Here suddenly there are like 10 people in each department and 20 people doing that thing, and you know, then I got to know, okay, there is a gaffer who handles lighting, there's a focus puller, you know. I then got to know that there are these people who do these specific jobs, and you know, they're professionals and they just do that their whole life and they're good at it, you know. So I met the best of the guys in the country. I met Mulchan Dedia. He's a gaffer and he owns a rental house. And then I met there were the grips was from Zoo Grips, so there was Sanjay Sami and, you know, all these Arjun Gurji and Ninad and all. I met these guys and I got to know, you know, there are a lot of these things which are involved, and it scared me also that, you know, that I don't know all of this, so I need to learn so much more to do my job. So then I kind of I kept in touch with these guys, and I moved to Bombay the moment I finished my graduation.
This was before SRFTI?
Before SRFTI.
Okay.
Much before SRFTI. SRFTI I went in 2007. This is what I'm talking about is 2004 when I moved to Bombay.
Okay.
So I moved to Bombay, I called up these guys. I worked for almost a year with Gulchan. I worked as a light boy, and then a lot of people were seeing me on set. They were like, why are you picking up these lights and running, and what do you want to do, you know? So I said I want to actually become a cinematographer, but I don't know where to start. So I thought, why not lights, being a light boy and understanding how all of these things work. So this was Zoo Grips. The guys who were saying that why don't you work with us, you know, why don't you leave that, you work with us, you'll be right next to the DP, and also you'll get paid. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll get paid, I'll pay my rent also. So then I started working as a grip with Zoo Grips. I worked with them for good 1.5 years. And yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of this equipment that I got exposed to. You know, I got to learn that, you know, what are these different rigs from which you can do more innovative shot designing. You can move the camera in certain ways. You have Panther dollies, and you can rig cameras. You have motion control dolly, and there are a lot of, you know, shots that you would see in a lot of these foreign films, but you don't know how to achieve it. So I got an exposure to all of that, working for that, you know, that 1.5 years that I worked with these guys. And also, like, I got a very good discipline of, you know, how to work, be on the set, how you need to deal with things, how you can delegate work, and, you know, how can you manage things. A big part of your job is that also, because you have some 80 people under you and you have to make sure all of them work in sync and trying to achieve that vision that you have. Which, you know, like initially you struggle with. But slowly you try to, you know, kind of form a team and you know how to handle things. So, and then after that I kind of thought that I've done enough of this. I have learned what I could. Now I need to move on, and now I need to start assisting in the camera department. Then I did my bit of working as third assistant, second assistant. I did a few films and ads, and then I thought, you know, now I'm done. Like, I'm working too much. I need to also find my own way of looking at things, you know, because if you start working on the set and you see people lighting in a certain way, and when a situation comes when you have to deal with a similar situation, the best thing is you go back in your memory and you see how that person had done the lighting or this person had done lighting, and it becomes an easy way of doing it. And I wasn't comfortable with that. I wanted to find my own way of doing things.
You wanted to go independent?
I definitely want to go independent. I mean, I don't think I could assist my whole life. Like, I thought that, you know, they are better people at assisting. I'm not like the best assistant in this world. So, but I had ideas. Like, I had you know, certain. I thought that I could shoot. I always knew that I can shoot. But it's just that I couldn't find, you know, like, you watch a lot of films, you know how Storaro shoots, you know how Roger D can shoot, but how do you shoot, you know, how do you approach it? That was missing. I couldn't crack it. So I thought that I need my space, and I was also like, I work with almost every DP in the country, because as a light boy, as a grip, you are with a new DOP every day. You're not working with the same people. And I saw everyone working in a certain style, and I wanted to, you know, find my own style. So that's when I thought that I need to now go to some place, to an institute, where, you know, where I can read, where I can, you know, where I can watch a lot of films. Because when you're working from day in and to night, and next day, and then day next, and, you know,
you don't get time for yourself.
You don't get time to even read a book or to watch a film, you know, at least in that time. Now I make sure I, you know, find time for all that. So I just left all my work. I went to SRFTI. I somehow got selected over there. And that's what I did for next 3-4 years. I completely, like, you know, gave into the institute, and I was in the library and in the camera department every day and practicing and reading and watching and trying to find my own way of looking at things.
So how was your experience in SFTI? मतलब
It was very good. I had a great time in Institute. Like it's a very good learning space. I mean, it's a very nice culture. You're day in and out. You're talking about films. You're walking, sleeping. Whole night you guys are having. You're sitting together. Even if you're drinking, you're having parties. You're always discussing something. Not just film. It's also other things you can introduce to. You can introduce to music. To other artists and painters and photographers, because there's so many people who come there, all kinds of people who are very learned, and a lot of times, like every evening we have a screening where we watch a film and then we come out and we talk about it, we discuss it. Even in those half an hour of discussion, you learn so much, because you get to know how people are looking at films and of course vis-a-vis how you are looking at it, what is your point of view. So it's a great space, like it's like it's full of energy. There's always like people talking on making films or experimenting with things. We are every day practicing, operating and lighting practice and trying things like how will we do a scene in the candlelight or this light and that light, and it's just like it's 24/7. You're just into that. So I had a great time in Institute, and we had some very good teachers. Like during our time, there was Dukhida, who's not there anymore. He passed away, and he used to be Shubhato Mitro's gaffer.
Okay, Shubhato Mitro.
Yeah. So we had some great lighting practices with him. Like I mean whatever I've learned about lighting is from him, because he was from that Shubhato Mitro school of lighting. He was very very anal and very particular about how we are lighting up sets, because his idea of lighting was that कि आँख से जैसा दिखता है वैसा कैमरा पे दिखना चाहिए. कि the moment you have achieved that, it was a very strict approach to realism. It's not a lot of films you see a lot of exaggerated realism. It was a very strict approach, like that if in moonlight, in full moon, this is how you see when you look in the real world. That's exactly what you have to achieve with your lighting and your exposures. So, and that's how they used to work when they were with Shubhato Mitro. Like, he used to be constantly observing, and that's what he encouraged us to do. Like, we would get up early in the morning. Sometimes we used to feel very stupid. All the cinematography students would be walking in corridors with some mirror and all. And just because a lot of times you'll ask someone, यार 4 बजे उठ के सुबह आ जा, मेरे को देखना है कि at early morning, at the break of dawn, how the light is falling on your face, what is the color, what is the quality. तो कई बार वो बहुत कोई आता नहीं था, पागल है सुबह 4 बजे बहुत है. So we would just all buy a small mirror and go in the institute. We'll go outside. We'll go next to the lake and we'll just see, just observe how the light is, how it's changing, what is the quality, what is the color, and we'll see it on our face that how it's falling, what is it doing to your skin and things like that. So yeah, we did all of those things and it was pretty. I think that sets your basic right. You don't. You always have that reference point in your memory that, and that day when you looked at sunrise, I would try to simulate it like that, So yeah, I mean that is something he encouraged us a lot, and also we had a very good workshops during our period. So that also like adds on to that, because we are being taught in a certain way every day, you know, that let's say we are kind of into naturalism and you know doing that every day, and then suddenly one DOP comes for a workshop and
From Mumbai.
huh?
From Mumbai.
From Mumbai or anywhere. Yeah, so workshops are always like this stylistic input for us, because you know when we are working on our own, we have our in-house faculty like Dukhida was there, who was coming from the Shubroto Mitro you know style of photographing things. So workshops always worked as a stylistic input, that you know we are trained and we are practicing in a certain way, and then a DOP comes who's from the outside world to us, and he suddenly gives us this things that you know that you can also look at it this way. You know, this is how I do it. So that kind of gives you that input of you know opens your world to how many ways can you approach photography in. So when we were, I remember our first workshop what was with Mr. V.K. Murthy.
V.K. Murthy.
He was Guru Dutt's cinematographer. He shot films like Pyasa, Kagas Ke Phool, Sahib PVN or
Gulam.
So that was like an eye-opener for us, because till now we were approaching photography in a very realistic way. That you know that if a character is close to its you know it's probably afternoon, so the sun is on top, and you know if a character is close to a window, probably a bounce light from the floor is lighting up your face, and you know we are trying to achieve that kind of look, you know, that you know that kind of afternoon feel or the evening feel, and then if the character is moving away from window, so naturally he'll go into a darker area in the frame, because that's how light is. If you're closer to the source, it's bright, and as you're moving away, you're going, you know, it's becoming darker, and that's natural. You know, and we were trying to achieve that. But suddenly V.K. Murthy came, and he was also from that era. You know, when Satyajit Ray and Shubroto Mitro were making films, he was making films with Guru Dutt, but the approach of lighting was completely different. His approach of lighting was that the character, no matter where he is, he has to be in the correct exposure zone. Be it the character is near the window, away from window, night, day, whatever. You know, they will play with the tonalities and contrast in the frame. So if it's night, it's much more contrasty. There are some areas are lit, there are a lot of blacks otherwise. If it's day, then there are lesser blacks and more you know highlights that you're playing with. But the character will always be you know properly lit, because they were coming from that era where you had to make your actors, your stars look proper no matter where they are. You know, there'll always be this backlight, because they were approaching because they were filming things in black and white, and they were always trying to build depth. Now it's different for us. Now depth is created through colors and also of course through light and shadow. But at that time they had to only play in the grayscale. So you know he was always using backlights and always lighting faces separately and making it more pleasing and making it more glamorous and beautiful. So we were completely like, you know, our world opened that, you know, this is also one way and it looks great, you know. This is also one style of doing things. And then you know, it kind of, that was like the breaking point, you know, that everything is your tool, you know, you keep a lamp here, and the light has a certain effect, and or you keep it up there and it will come from top and it will generate a different kind of mood. Or you know, like we had a workshop with Avik Mukhopadhyay, and he said a very nice thing that the lamp you can just throw in on the floor, and you know that will build in another drama. The light will come from below, so you don't have to get stuck with a lot of time. You don't have to be restricted with realism. Of course, like, you know, we are all most of the times trying to make the images feel as real as possible, you know, so that the audience also becomes a part of that world. They don't feel that they're watching an image and they are watching something as in photograph. You want them to become a part of that world. So a lot of them you are trying to achieve realism, but you know, you don't have to be also restricted with it. A lot of time you can just place your lights or compose in a certain way that you can create drama. You know, so those workshops, you know, help a lot in that, because every time a new cinematographer will come and he'll just show us you know, frames and how to capture things in a completely different way. So yeah, that way the institute workshops were a great input for us.
So, what after SRFTI? What did you do after SRFTI? Did you struggle a lot?
I am still struggling. I don't think the struggle ever ends, because in the institute you live in a very ideal world, and you are almost cut off from that very the commercial approach to filmmaking, where you know everything is exaggerated, everything is glossy and beautiful, and you know, we are always exposed to and always into a lot of world cinema. We're always watching good stuff, and that's what we want to do. We want to shoot in a certain way. We want to shoot dark, or we want to shoot contrasty. We want to shoot bright also. We want to shoot very bright also. We want to try out all kind of stuff. But once you come and work professionally, there are a lot of, like, you know, set ideas that you have to deal with. There are a lot of, like, set looks and styles, and you know, people will come and tell you that this is how we want to do it, and these are the references, and you don't want to do that, you want to do it differently. But a lot of times, you know, their clients, especially in ads, you know, their clients involved, and their agencies, and there's certain look or style which has been sold to them. So you have to do that. So there's always a struggle to find good work and to do work the way you want to do it. A lot of times the situations are like this, that you are not able to you know, exactly do it the way you want to, but there's always this fight to sell your ideas and to also convince, because it's a more collaborative art. It's not an individual art. It's not like photography that you go out and you make your frames and click pictures and expose them the way you want to. There are a lot of other people involved who help you in achieving that look. So there's always that struggle to crack it, you know. And also it's a director's medium. You know, in the end you also have to cater to his vision, and you can of course add on to that, but you can't take over, because that's when it's not right, you know. The approach is not right, because you have to be a part of the machine. You can't come out and dictate things. Yeah, it's always a struggle.
So, how was your experience with Ritesh Batra in Lunchbox?
Lunchbox was Ritesh. I mean, I interacted with him a lot before the film, because there was this time when we were talking about if I could film the whole film, but there were dates issues and a lot of things which were not falling in place, and I was shooting another film at that time. So in the end, like, we decided that, you know, that because we got along very well, and he, you know, kind of liked my approach to work, and I kind of liked his ideas of the film, and I had seen a short film which are very nice, and he's a very talented guy. So I mean, he had very set ideas on, he was very clear on what he wants, and he didn't want a very conventional approach to photography. He wanted to he almost wanted the parts that I shot in a very documentary style. He wanted me to go and just go free flow, and it was it was actually a very independent thing for me. There was no one telling me what to do. I was my own unit, and I was shooting anywhere and everywhere. Even the production was very attuned to that way of working, because I had already done 2 films which was like that, like Peddlers, where we had no permissions and we had no money. So it was a very on the go way of filming, that we stop in a place, we make a frame, shoot it, and then get out, because you don't want to get caught, you don't want to be in jail. So Lunchbox for me was like that. It was I shot all that dabba wala part, all the traveling, all the trains, and all that sequences. I shot a few scenes also, but mostly that part. And he had a lot of philosophy behind it. That he saw Bombay and the chaos in a certain way, and the train, and these journey in the train, and how you meet people, and what kind of people are there. And so he'd done a lot of research on that. He'd spent a lot of time on the film. So he would just throw in some keywords to me on the mood and what he's trying to generate, and then he'll just let me go, and I'll just shoot on my own. A lot of times we will be together, and a lot of times actually we were together shooting. A lot of times he just
Let you go.
Yeah, he just put in a few words that I want to make this scene feel in this way or that way, and then then it's my choice.
And how was working with Vasan Bala in Peddlers? How did that project started?
Vasan I had collaborated with on a few short films. I used to, towards the end of my institute, I used to visit Bombay a lot. And Guneet is a very good friend of mine. So we would, anyways, from the beginning of the time we know each other, we were always discussing ideas and this and that. So I kind of met Vasan through her. And we interacted a lot, and he saw my institute work, and he said that he asked me to shoot a short film. And we did this short film, and we immediately kind of clicked. We became very good friends, and we also realized that we have a very good, very similar way of looking at things, and we gel a lot. A lot of times we don't even have to talk to each other, and we know that what has to be done. So that's when he was trying to make his first film, and he had a few scripts in his hand. And we were actually working on some other script, and last minute he changed his mind, and he said that I don't want to, and that film was becoming very expensive. So it was becoming very difficult to raise that kind of money. And also be able to make it the way we want to, because one way was that you get a star, you get a lot of money, you put song and dance, and you make the film. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make a film which we thought that we would want to watch. And that's when Peddlers happened. This is when I was in the institute. So I kind of started prepping for Peddlers while I was in the institute. And the moment I got out, I came to Bombay, and we started filming this. So
this was your first project after SRFTI?
This was the first film, my first independent feature I did. I had done a lot of second unit on a lot of films. I had done second unit on Kahani. Then I had done second unit on one film called Flag, which never released. Then I assisted on a lot of films. I assisted on a film called The Darjeeling Limited. Which is by Wes Anderson, and and a lot of other films but mostly I worked on foreign films because that's the kind of people I knew. So yeah, I mean, Peddlers was my first independent film I did, and it had no money. We had no money. The film's budget was, I think, 50 lakhs, and
Shooting budget versus 50 lakhs.
Okay, 50 lakhs, and but I was quite scared also because you know, in your first film you want to have the kind of the ideal equipment. You know, you want things. You want an ideal setup. So you know, and if not ideal, but at least close to that. But we were like far away from it. Like we had everything, like, you know, everything which was not even close to the ideal world.
Setup.
So it was very scary filming that, and I would tell Vasan, you know, after this film, either my career is going to end, nobody's going to give me work, or this will become a textbook, you know, film. Something extreme will happen, like, you know. But because also, like, we had a very, very extreme approach to film. We had no lights. We had a new camera. Because we couldn't pay anyone properly. So a lot of time people were doing favors. So every time we'll get a new camera body on set. Every time we'll get some new lens. Every time, most of the times we don't have lights. Most of the time we don't have permissions. Most of the times we are shooting in like 10 by 15 rooms. You know, and there's no space. But we were kind of, in our heads, we knew that this is going to happen, and we're always ready for it. And you know, as a DOP, you can't do this alone. You need a team and especially you need a director who understands this. So a lot of times, if a scene, we know that, you know, I need certain things to photograph it in a certain way, but we don't have it. So we'll just on the spot rewrite the scene. Vasan and I will sit, discuss it. He'll say, okay, we'll just approach this scene in this way and make it work in whatever resources is available to us. So a lot of it is because of the director, you know, because he understands that, you know, that there are certain limitations that we have. So you work around it and you make your limitations your strength. So, you know, a lot of times, I remember like production guys looking for a location and they're calling me and saying that, sir, यहाँ पे एक bulb लगा हुआ है, हम लोग shoot कर सकते हैं. And it was like that, you know, कि production guys also started understanding that all we need is one tube light or a bulb. You know, a lot of times we don't even had a budget to put our own
Lights.
You know, lights. So we'll just find a place where or we'll plant our own practicals and we'll put in a few tube lights or bulbs inside. I remember, I think, a few days in the shoot when we actually got some HMI, one or two HMIs or a few kino. Most of the times we were just working with practicals. I had a battery operated LED behind the camera giving a little fill, you know, and more, or you know, just finding a corner in a location where I'm getting some exposure. So, you know, our approach, then we started looking at locations in that way. So our entire way of looking at, you know, during our location scouts and recce's, we knew that, you know, we have to make do with how
whatever
things are. So we'll just find frames or find a way to cover that scene in a way that it works in available light or whatever little lights we can use.
And how was it working with Shlomo Sharma in Ramkhor?
Haramkhor was very different approach from Peddlers. We were working with children in that. There are two kids who are the protagonists, and there's also Nawaz Bhai's character and Shweta Tripathi, her character. But primarily it was going through their eyes, the journey. So we never wanted to restrict them, to anything. I never wanted to. There's something I learned from peddlers also, that the best you can get out of actors is when you don't restrict them. You don't want to tell them that this is your mark for focus or light, and this is where you have to land to catch this light. A lot of time that happened because we didn't have any lights, and so we lit the sequence and whenever we did have lights, we approached the lighting in a way that the characters can move around freely, the camera can move around freely. So in Haramkhor, that's what we did. We never told actors where to go, what to do. We let them go. We give them the scene. Shlok would give them the scene. We'll tell them that this is the situation, this is what you guys are doing in the scene, and then just let them go. And I will, try to find my frames and follow them, and it was that kind of filming. Like we never worked with giving them very specific directions on land here or land there or enter this place, or we never took focus marks. They started performing and we started filming. That was the way of shooting, and I think we maximum would do 2 takes, 3 takes, because they were all very, we wanted to catch a very spontaneous performances, and they were also all of them improvising, and you want to catch that. We don't want to fuck it up in my operation and in the focus or in lighting light coming in frame or flash coming in frame. So I would light everything from, if you're shooting in a room, I'll put all my sources outside the room, nothing inside, so I can move around freely.
Okay.
So that way, it kind of formed a language which was very interesting, where the actors are free and they are free to move anywhere, and we are also free, and there are certain mistakes which become the style of the film. So yeah, it was like.
And recently you worked with Anurag Kashyap in an ad film.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
That was also interesting. It's very difficult to work with Anurag sir because he improvises like every minute, and because he's like that, everyone becomes like that. The actors, everyone starts improvising. So till the shot happens, nobody knows what's going to happen. So you have to just preempt things. You have to be very instinctive. You have to light in a way that that you want to give him the freedom to improvise. At the same time, you don't want to screw it up for yourself because it's an ad and you have to deliver a certain quality to the client. So it's a tricky space. You have to kind of preempt everything. You have to kind of in your head think that this is how he's going to approach the scene. So I'll light it up in this way, and I'll put my frame here so I catch it best. So then you do that first shot, and then you know what's happening, and then you accordingly put your next frame and next frame. But there's a lot of improvisation, and for a DOP it becomes very difficult, because if you're lit in a certain way, and then when you're doing the shot, you realize that all your lights are going to come in the frame, and it's all going to be all over the place. The shadow is going to fall there, and and then you don't have time to change it. So you have to be very quick. So you're from the beginning only you preempt scenes, and you'll design your light in a way so that you don't have to move around much. You don't have to change too much lighting and your axis and all, because the director wants to have that free flowing attitude, that free flowing approach to the script.
And you have worked in both Hollywood films and Bollywood films. What difference do you feel in the approach towards filmmaking?
I think one thing we can learn from them, and that makes everyone's life very easy. We save money on that. We get to shoot the way we want to, in the light we want to, is to be organized. And of course now we are also pretty much much better than what we used to be. and we are getting better by the day. But still, when I work in a lot of foreign films, they are so organized that you never have to compromise on your work because some other department screwed up. So a lot of times what happens that you want to shoot in that particular light, you want to shoot at 6 a.m. At that break of dawn, or you want to shoot at the right moment in dusk, and it never happens. Because there is chaos, there's some fuck up, or there's something somebody missed out on, or a prop hasn't come, or the generators haven't reached, or the camera hasn't reached, or a lot of these problems happen, and you eventually compromise, and you don't get to shoot the way you want to. So that is one thing, I think. I mean, I'm not saying that we are really in a bad space. We have improved a lot. But still, I think we can be much better. We can be much more organized, and because now people are very professional. We have like very educated and experienced people. The kind of team I have, they are like very experienced and they're very professional. But it's just that because of these small, you're not organized and you're not planned properly. Because of that,
Budget of the film increases.
sorry.
Budget of the film increases.
Yeah, everything. A lot of times I order lights because I know that by the time we are going to do this scene, it will be night and I'll have to recreate day and shoot. If you're planned properly, you don't need to put a single light. You can just shoot an available light and achieve what you want. It's just that you want to sometimes cut off the real sun and put a big HMI and create sun, because by the time you do this shot, the sun will go from here to here. And your continuity and all won't be there. So that's why you end up using, a lot of times I use lights only for that. You don't even need a single light a lot of times, but you still order so many lights to keep the continuity, or because that fuck up will happen or this fuck up will happen. You have to be ready for it. I tell them that in the end, like after whole day's work, that now you can't shoot. A lot of time in films you can still do it. You can come back the next day and get that shot. But in ads, if it's a one-day shoot, it's a one-day shoot. You can't come back the next day and do that. So you have to be ready for it.
So let's talk about your favorite DPs. Which DPs inspire you most?
There are a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, I have kind of learned from Shubhratam through his work. I love his work. Then there's Mark Lee Ping Ping. He's one of my favorite cinematographers. There's a director, Nuri Belji Chelan, he's also shot some of his films. Now he collaborates with one cinematographer, and they are doing some great work. And apart from that, so many of them. There is Emmanuel Lubezki, Darius Khondji, and Roger Deakins. I mean, the list is endless because there are so many people who are doing such great work, and very inspiring work.
If you have to change your positions with a DP currently in contemporary world, who would it be?
Like if I would want to do,
You want to become him, or one film that you want to do that you thought you would have been, you could have done that.
I mean, one DOP whose body of work I really love is Rodrigo Prieto.
Okay.
So, and one of his recent films called Beautiful I really love it. Like, I wish I had, I could shoot something like that. And also, what else?
A film you wished you had done.
Sorry?
A film you wished you had done. Is there any film you see the film and you wish कि क्या यार मैंने किया होता है picture?
That I would have done better. Like that.
Earlier you said you wanted to become a director. So when are you planning to direct a film?
Right now I'm really enjoying what I'm doing.
Mm.
And, I don't think about directing. I'm really enjoying being a cinematographer.
Mm.
I love the entire thing of the entire process of reading a script, collaborating with the director, the production designer, the entire, I really love this having that director to, share ideas and then implement it and purely be attached with the visual part of it.
Mm.
Of course, you get into performances and everything. Once you find a good collaboration, a lot of times you're not. But I've been very lucky. I've always found directors who really like to collaborate.
Mm.
So I'm really enjoying that. So I don't think of directing right now. Not for next
5-4
many
years. My last question would be, what is your opinion about and thinking about digital cinema? You wish के reel was here, or you think digital cinema is good, better than reel?
I'm very thankful. I think the reason why probably I've got an opportunity to shoot independently and to make films and to make films like Peddlers is because digital was there. I don't think till now, I think I still would have been struggling to break in as an independent cinematographer if digital was not there. Because the digital has changed the economics. Now you can make a film in cheap, and you can be you can hide and shoot. You can go and shoot in in Peddlers. Most of the film was shot in Red MX, but there were a lot of parts which we shot in 5D, which would have been impossible if we didn't have a camera like 5D. I couldn't go in a railway station and shoot without permission earlier. Of course people have done that, but those were different times. People were not aware of these things so much. Now people are so much exposed. You go to villages, you go to small towns, everyone knows what is a film shoot, they are aware of things, and it becomes very difficult to sometimes capture things and capture real things and capture it in a documentary style. And a lot of times you don't want to choreograph things and put extras and junior artists and do that. And a lot of times you want to capture that reality, and that has only become possible because these digital cameras have come. And I've shot in film also. I still feel digital is not really there. I personally still prefer, wherever possible and aesthetically fits in, I would like to shoot on film. My second feature, Haramko, I shot on Super 16. The feature after that, Titli, I shot on Super 16. There are films that I'm discussing which probably will shot on 35. So it's not that I believe that film is obsolete and it's dated, and it's still a superior medium. There is no digital camera till now which can match up to that. But there are certain advantages of digital which you can't ignore. It gives you that opportunity to make film cheap. A film like Peddlers could have never happened in that kind of money if we didn't have digital cameras.
And which is your favorite camera in digital? Alexa, Epic, there are lots of varieties.
I don't have a favorite. I feel that we are in a great time where we have so many cameras, and I shoot with everything. I've shot with Alexa. Sometimes I read a script and I say, okay, this requires this kind of look. It needs a little soft tones, and it needs more gradual tonalities. It needs that more noiseless image. Okay, Alexa is the camera for me. I want a little more texture. I want to see a little noise. I want a more, a more film-like image. I'll say, okay, Epic. It has a little edge. It has a little crunch to it. and then I've shot with C300 like on Lunchbox. We also, apart from shooting with Alexa, we also shot on F3, Sony F3 and on Canon C300 because there were times when we didn't have permission. So it was a small camera, we just went inside the trains and shot. So every camera needs to be understood for its language and for its aesthetics and for its practical uses. So right now we are in a very good time where we have so many options. I want a certain look, I have film to shoot, I can shoot on Alexa, I can shoot on Epic, I can shoot on F65, I need a smaller camera, I need a different look, I can go on C500, I can shoot F3, there's F5, there's so many cameras, there's Blackmagic which has come, the GoPros have come, that is changing language, GoPro has a certain language, it can be used so innovatively and people are using those cameras in a very different way now. So it's endless now. So we have so many choices to
Consider.
you can just choose anything. It's like now you have much more colors in your palette and you want it this way than that way, and you have there's no end to it.
Thank you very much, Siddharth, for this interview and a very nice time.